always get it. The OGs always told me what I start, I gotta finish. So I push it to the limit, so I can be the greatest. So I can look my family in their eyes and say we made it. Don't let life hand you nothing, you just gotta go take it. Always keep it 100, don't ever let me catch you faking. Keep a close eye on your circle.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Post-Prison Podcast, Pursuing Life After the Plantation. I'm your guy, D. Riley, and joining me today, in the absence of our dear friend, Sister Cynthia Brady, is our good friend, Janel McFeat, who's the project manager in strategic planning for the Second Chance Act community-based adult reentry program. How you doing, Janel?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Let me start off by saying that and offer you my apologies, because at the end of last episode, when I announced that you were going to be on next week, I referred to you as under your maiden name. I think is it Borderson? Is it?
Yes.
Borderson. And I just want to correct for the record that when I met you, you were using that name. So I should have been a little better at doing my homework.
Oh, no problem. I'm going back to that.
Anyway, so again, welcome to episode 3 of the Post-Prison Podcast. This episode is entitled Life After the Plantation, the necessity for reentry. Mm-hmm. Again, all of us know somebody who gets out of jail or gets out of prison and then continues to go through this cycle, and they're in and out of jail. We all know somebody like that. And, a lot of times we want to marginalize them and blame it on them, not understanding what all comes with being released from prison. So what we are not here to do is argue, to defame, to embarrass. We're here to understand and to enlighten and engage in conversations that's going to probably help us all. So a little bit about Miss Janel. We'll just read her bio real quick and try to put some infrastructure around what she's good at and her subject matter expertise. So again, Janel McFeat, she's the project manager, strategic planner for the Second Chance Act community-based reentry grant of the Support Gramo Siklallam Tribe. This reentry program's success has garnered regional and national attention due to its significant reduction in recidivism using a native-based restorative model. Janel holds a BA in social work from Pacific Lutheran University and has worked 22 years in reentry, case management, victim advocacy, restorative justice, tribal probation, court services, and currently implements strategic planning for human dignity reentry models. Ms. McFeat is also certified in trauma-informed care, conflict resolution, and in the White Bison 12-step medicine route, and is also qualified in correctional assessments and intervention systems, and is a restorative circle practitioner. Janel currently holds leadership positions in the Welcome Home program, that's a human dignity reentry model, the Reentry Task Force in Kitsap County, and the Kitsap Strong Leadership Committee. Janel presents foundational concepts of this reentry model to local, regional, and national audiences. Her hope is to foster a shift in the culture of corrections to one that is based on more restorative and human dignity models that can be infused into jails and prison systems throughout the country for adults and youths. And I couldn't agree more with that last paragraph. Something that's based on restorative, because as a product of those spaces and a product of being released with basically nothing to show me how to what I like to refer to as you gotta have a social adaptation, if you will, when you get out, and we gotta help people figure out what that is. So some of the information I learned from you was very inspiring. So Janel, I'd like to introduce you to America, to the world, to the people that don't know you. Welcome to the Post-Prison Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we're gonna talk a little bit. I'm just gonna read real quickly a little bit about your program, but I don't think that's really why I have you here. to talk about that in particular, because I personally think, your program speaks for itself. But what you have created and the concept around all of that and where it's taking is just something that's very much needed in a post-COVID society, if you will. So we're going to kind of go in that direction, but I will talk a little bit about your reentry program, because when I first met you in 2015, you guys were building the foundation with this, and it was really not as much support as it is now, and people were really unaware of what they were actually doing and trying to support these institutions. So in 2013, the Port Gamble S'Klallam tribe launched a revolutionary new program, a non-punitive approach to reentry that puts human dignity, connection, and compassion front and center. Reentry provides healing, hope, and opportunities for those who are and have been incarcerated. The end goal is to give those individuals the tools to become contributing members of society and embrace the possibility of a positive future through connections, storytelling, culture, and community. Driven by a holistic approach, the program recognizes that individual success is not one size fits all. For every client, the journey begins with the risk and needs assessment to help tailor services and support. And, I don't want to talk a lot before we get started, but when I read that, and this isn't my first time reading, but when I read it, I was kind of upset. I was upset because I struggled a lot when I got out, each time I got out, because I didn't have none of those things.
Right.
You talked about a non-punitive approach to reentry. Tell me what that means, or tell the people what that means.
Sure. So I'll tell you what we're not. We are not what you just said. We are not a punitive, institutionalized model. We are a model that honors the individuals coming out of incarceration. And one of the reasons we talked about the title, the Welcome Home Program, is we really wanted to kind of dismantle this idea of individuals that are coming out of prisons and jails and the way that they were being treated. So really flipping the script and having people being treated and welcoming them. So having it like a welcoming celebration and really supporting and having community support around that. So we definitely are a restorative program. We are definitely trauma. We understand people's traumas. We make sure that we understand the story, and we make sure like relationships, relational programming. And I think, I was talking to you about this the other day. I was laughed at 10 years ago. And they said, "Oh yeah, Janel, keep dreaming." Connecting. And I think they use the word connecting with inmates. Oh, that's a great idea. Right. And so, and I said, and now I could say, well, guess what? That great idea that you laughed at now has produced 81% reduction in our recidivism rate with the target population we were working with. So not only can we say, hey, this isn't just an idea floating around. There's some data that's connected to this. And so when we use restorative circles and we use success coaches, which I also talked about, we don't use the word case management. There's power in language. And when you have someone that works inside the jail, both pre and post release, essentially like a life coach, if you want to call it that way, but they're trained in certain, modalities, and they all have lived experience. And the program focuses on rapport and trust and relationships, something that a lot of the individuals that go through a system that is not to be trusted, we're trying to create trust, and everything else is secondary. yes, do you have to do things that are evidence-based? And we throw that in there because it is important, right? So we do a criminogenic risk and needs assessment and things like that. But what's really important is genuinely and authentically connecting. That is the most important thing that we can possibly do, and having a support system for those that are coming out. And so we actually pick up from jail, right? Or pick up the person that's coming out of incarceration. And there's stories on the documentary that we had put out a while back, when one of our participants was saying, hey, when I was released, 15 years ago, I got out of Kitsap County Jail. I walked down the hill, found, the people that I used to hang out with, got arrested, went right back. Right. And so he's a big advocate for our program, works with us as well. But, I guess it's hard to put, in so many words, what is this? And what I'd say is that it's, we were all born free and equal and in dignity and rights. And we cannot forget that. We cannot forget that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know what you mean when you say that we were all born free, but I'm going to give you here's the perfect opportunity to share something with the people that you shared with me when I asked you, how did you get involved in this? And you shared something, probably one of the most explosive things that I've heard this year, at least, in terms of what caused you, or how did you frame your life to get into this type of work? How'd you get here?
Whew. So let me say this again. We are supposed to believe that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Let me say that. So 1977, I'll go there. And I'll even go there the year I was born. Roots was introduced. And I told you this story the other day, and I remember as a child sitting in my room, I had this little white and black TV, just like a little box. And I was flipping through the channels, and I happened to fall upon Channel 9, PBS Channel 9, and they were showing Roots. And it happened to land on the scene where they were being transported in the boat, shackled, laying right next to each other, side by side, vomiting. There was just this sweating, being abused. And this was at a young age. So I'm watching this at 8 years old. I'm scrolling through, and my eyes are like wide. I'm getting physically sick. I actually threw up from watching it. From watching that particular scene was so powerful and shaped a lot of the work that I do today. We have to open our eyes, and we have to see what we're doing, and so at 7, years old, I'm watching this going, I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to keep on watching this. And I go out crying to my mom and dad. I threw up. I remember this vividly. And I went back and I sat back down in the chair and continued to watch it because I wasn't going to turn away from that. Wow. And I do the, what makes me so, I don't have the right word for it, but it's the same thing when the American public watched George Floyd die. Everyone watched, but we were really doing this because guess what? Nothing's changing. Right. Open people. Some people need to open their eyes. They need to start reading, educating themselves on what institutionalized slavery now looks like. Right. And after, slavery ended. No, it didn't. We have the 13th Amendment. Look at, read up on mass incarceration, read up, on the new read the new Jim Crow. There is a huge disproportional incarceration rate for African American and Native American compared to their white counterpart. Why is that? And that's the thing, is we have to address this deeply systemic issue around racism in our justice system. How do we do it? How about acknowledge it? That might be a good first step.
Well, we had that last week. We read the letter that was written in June 2020. So, and that's why we brought the judge on to answer some of the questions that you just posed. Okay, so you say you've been racist. Now what? You say you did these harms and created this system, but you're still in charge. Now what? So yeah, that you a lot of times you find, and I think we spoke about this, you find well-meaning white people who are in this work, but they all have different reasons why they're in this work. And I never heard something so substantive as because I can't even watch Ruth today. Mm-hmm. I don't even watch those types of movies today. I don't want to re-traumatize myself by watching movies as it pertains to slavery. Right. Oh, no, Django. Oh, no. So thank you. I appreciate that connection you have to that from your 8-year-old self. So the Welcome Home Project, you talked a little bit about why. We all know if every area had a Welcome Home Project and can reduce the recidivism rate by 81%, like you guys did. I'd like you to talk about your why as it pertains to punishment and release and the connection with probation, because I think probation is a big reason why a number of people fail. And you also spoke about language. I know if you miss a probation appointment, they can write it up as escape from community custody. Mm-hmm. And you haven't escaped. You might be at work late. You might be at the doctor. You might have missed your bus. And people go to jail for that. So was that part of your why for starting the Welcome Home Project?
Yeah. Well, I laugh only because I actually started off as a probation officer within tribal probation. And that is actually where I was now, let me back up here for a second. So I started my work in 2000, working in Hilltop area, working with a lot of at-risk youth. And that's where my career was birthed. And then found myself later, because I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm a Jamestown S'Klallam descendant, but I work for the Port Gamble S'Klallam tribe. And my first job, and I was hired as the probation officer. And so when I was in there, I was going, oh my God, there's got to be a different way. What are we doing? Yeah. Right? Go pee in a cup, go work at McDonald's. Don't dream big, just get through life. Who wants to just get through life? That's the hope that we're giving people. Mm-hmm. And so, come sit in my office for 5 minutes. Is that going to tell me your life story? Is that going to tell me why you're sitting in the chair? Do you want to tell me about your trauma? Do you want me, and that's the thing, is that everybody has a story. No one got to that point without being some sort of trauma. And when we ignore that, and when we ignore people's stories, we're failing people. Yeah. And so that's when I had the opportunity to kind of they redesigned a role for me, and to really look into how can we work with our law enforcement, probation, et cetera, and try to find a way where we can come together. Because if we're talking about we're a relational program, then we need to be a relational program for everyone that we work with.
Absolutely.
Because without building relationships and without getting to know people, because it's really hard to hate somebody that you know.
Man, absolutely. I concur 100%. Well, I'm sure anybody that's watching can probably see, they're saying to themselves, this sister gets it. I'm pretty certain of that. But I know one person who thinks you get it, and that's the governor, because he just appointed you to a new role. So I think he think like I think. You get it. You want to share with the people what your new role is, and what's your approach going to be to that? Because now you talking to the people who make the real decisions,
Right.
The policy and things like that. So talk about that a little bit and share with us what your new role is.
Sure. And I'm so thankful for being appointed to this new role as the executive director for the Reentry State Council. When I was thinking about what does this look like, my great grandma, who was Jamestown's Svalum, I learned the art of listening through her stories. And I think the art of listening is lost. I think we've become pretty disconnected. And so Tara's quoted on her civil survival website, and I have it down here, as saying, we believe those closest to the problem are closest to the solution. And so I really want to be able to listen to our justice impacted individuals. I want to be able to listen to the council, to the governor, to really take time. This is going to be a brand new role, and I'm coming in with some pretty, passionate ideas. But I also have to balance that with what is important, and there is some strategic priorities for 2023. One of the things that I'm hoping to bring to the forefront is bringing in humane and restorative practices into our jails and prison systems, simultaneously tackling a lot of what we were just talking about. Because if we're only just centering ourselves on one piece, then we can't really tackle the biggest issue here, right?
A lot of holes in the boat.
Yeah. And so it's going to be interesting on how to maneuver all of that in this new position. But I'm 100% ready for it.
Well, good. I'm excited about that. I will tell you that, when you mentioned civil survival, well, first of all, you talked about the art of listening, which I need to practice a little bit more of. But you also talked about civil survival and, I remember hearing Darryl say something along those lines about those closest to the problem, and being a product of that. We're actually in the process of trying to do something along those lines as well. So we'll be talking more about that in the future. But I want to say thank you to you for stopping in on us. I really appreciate the opportunity that you gave us to just open this up from a different lens. It's not, it takes people from different spaces to start continually to talk about this thing. And I think in Washington State, it's actually gaining some traction because these systems are doing more harm than they are helping. So thank you for that. And if you want to lead the people with anything on your way out, anything we can do, any questions we might have, we'll be sure to forward them to you. Or how can we reach the Welcome Home Project?
So we do have a Facebook page. If you want to check out kind of the current, just what's going on currently. And it's KCPTS. So capital K -CPTS. So it stands for Kitsap Community Partnerships for Transition Solutions. And I will be in that role for another 2 weeks. And so after that, I'm not sure where to direct, but that's a place where people can read a lot about innovative programming and what we're doing with reentry. So we're definitely a reentry program, and our wheelhouse is within the jails for sure.
Well, thank you, Janel. Again, we appreciate you so much for your time. I'm glad you were the one that they chose for this position, and looking forward to working with you in the future. For everybody that's listening, thank you all for tuning in. We like you all. If you don't mind, continue to support us by liking, sharing, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and just stay tuned for more content. Next week's show, we're going to have a different approach. We're going to have kind of like some barbershop talk with some people who were released and are now doing amazing things in the community. And we just want to open that up for their experiences. Maybe they can share something and help somebody else. So again, until next time, peace. And y'all have a good week.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Every morning I wake up, all I know is get it. The OGs always told me what I start, I gotta finish. So I push it to the limit, so I can be the greatest. So I can look my family in their eyes and say we made it. Don't let life hand you nothing, you just gotta go take it. Always keep it 100, don't ever let me catch you faking. Keep a close eye on your circle.